Hey guys, Jengar here. Welcome to today's premium review in which we are taking a look at the I.A.R 81C sitting at 2.7 battle rating in the Italian line. This is a Romanian plane and a famous one. Many people, including myself, have been looking forward to this plane for a long time, for years actually. The plane is finally here and it is a little bit underwhelming and we'll go into why. The maximum speed in this plane at sea level without WEP is 394 km an hour and with WEP is 401 km an hour. At 4500 meters it is 379 km an hour without WEP and 385 with WEP. And finally at 6500 meters it is 334 km an hour with WEP and 336 without WEP. Or with WEP, sorry. Top speed in a dive in the plane is 646 km an hour before it redlines and 710 km an hour before it rips apart. Now that is not fast at all. This plane is pretty slow compared to most of the competition, including these P40s here, which are in general almost 100 km faster than the I.A.R, unfortunately, and no competition in the speed department. But of course we do have good guns, so there is that. Don't go head on when you're in that P40 with this thing, because the cannons have been buffed. But a thing like the BF 109 E4 as well is also 70 to 90 kilometers an hour faster than this plane, depending on speed, altitude, and whether you use WEP or not. And it is just basically a very big disadvantage. Does this plane have anything to make up for that speed disadvantage, you would ask me? Well, the top speed in the dive of this plane is not great, as I just mentioned, but it's not the effective dive speed. The control stiffening in this plane starts very early already. At 400 km an hour you already start to notice control stiffening, elevator and roll rate both, and at 500 km an hour it becomes quite severe and you will have trouble pulling out of dives. Here we are at 600 km an hour and we have stiffened up severely. Now the P40 also has some trouble, so he's also working to get out of it, but look at that, it is just terrible to get out of. We do have roll rate, but the roll rate is also below average. The P40 is outrolling us and the roll rate on the P40 is pretty decent, but nothing stellar. So you get outrolled very easily in this plane. There is something that is good in this plane, that is the stall speed, which is excellent with 85 km an hour before it stalls. Really excellent stall speed in this plane, but that is not supported by, for example, energy retention in the vertical, which is very bad in this plane, or climb rate, which is bad for vertical maneuvers. So this plane has an excellent stall speed, which would be nice for vertical maneuvers, but it has very bad vertical energy retention and bad climb rate to compensate that, to make it really not very good in the vertical. Plane is not good in the vertical. The firepower though is very good. You have 20mm to 20mm MG 151 cannons with 175 rounds per gun. I used air targets for that. The plane is then supported also in its firepower by two 7.92 FN Browning machine guns with 700 rounds per gun. I used stealth for those. 600 meter convergence for these matches. You can also put some bombs out there, two 50 kilo bombs, one 250 kilo bomb, or both combined with 250s and one 250. You also have the new rockets, the two of them on this plane, and you can make a combination with a 250 bomb of that. So there is some loadouts you can use if you want to use this plane as a ground attacker, which may be a better option than using it as a fighter, because it's not really good as a fighter in game right now with the current setup. The ammo load in the plane is good. Acceleration in a straight line is no more than average. Dive in a dive is the same as average acceleration, and nothing to write home about. Energy retention in the plane in the horizontal is average. It loses quite a bit of speed in a straight line once you come out of a dive, and the energy retention in the vertical is very bad and really noticeable compared to other planes around its battle rating, most of which have better vertical energy retention. The climb rate in this plane is bad. You really have to extensive side climbing to get this plane to altitude, and that is really the place where you want to be in this plane, because You don't want to have planes above you with an energy advantage because it's very difficult to get out of a situation like that against a plane, another plane that has an energy advantage on you. You don't climb well, you don't have good performance on the plane in acceleration or energy retention. The turn time in the plane is bad and average with the flaps. So bad without flaps, average with the flaps. The flaps do rip off at 520 kilometers an hour. Roll rate in the plane is also below average. We have reached the AB match in the meantime, by the way. With the performance boost there, the plane flies reasonably well, but compared to others who also get the flight performance in AB, well, it still is very, very average. Let's say below average, on average. The maneuverability, on average, The maneuverability in the plane is below average overall. Overheating in the plane is atrocious in RB. In AB it's not an issue, but in RB it is really bad. It cooks real easy, and use a little bit of web and you are already in the amber, and go a little bit further and you are already in the red and you are already ticking on and off. It goes really quick, the overheating in this plane, and you can cool it off, but it actually takes a little bit of time as well to get it to cool off then. So there is that. Durability in the plane is decent. It can take a hit or two, but that's one of the few highlights in the plane. It is a very unforgiving plane in which you should fly, in my opinion, in a boom and zoom style, because there is not much to compensate an energy disadvantage with in this plane. You can't turn against most fighters, you lock up before most enemy fighters, you have less speed than most enemy fighters, and your overall performance values are below most enemy fighters as well. The only thing you have speaking for you in this plane is the firepower with two MG-151 German cannons, which that early on are fantastic, and thus the firepower is really very good, excellent. The stall speed in the plane is also excellent, but not supported by anything else, so vertical maneuvers are still not very good despite the fantastic stall speed in this plane. And the handling in a dive is good up until 450, but the control stiffening has already kicked in there at 400 and become severe at 500, and after that it is really, really difficult to get the plane out of a dive. You really have to pull really, really hard and you can't do much else. So this plane doesn't have a lot speaking for it, and I've tried to fly it in a boom and zoom roll. This went reasonably well. You cannot make any mistakes, because any mistakes get punished brutally in this plane. And yeah, it is a difficult plane to fly, let's say. It's a challenge. I heard that, and I read that this plane was not a stellar plane in reality, but I cannot fathom that this plane was this bad in reality compared to other planes. Really, I mean, I also read some stories that this plane gave good accounts of itself against P-38s and a few other encounters. So I don't know, man. The performance it has right now at 2.7 battle rating is far from competitive at that battle rating, because there is some shining examples of planes in that battle rating range which are very, very good planes, like the P-40 that I mentioned earlier, but also the E-4, and there's many planes around that battle rating that is just better than this plane, and not just a little bit. Here we go. We are finally caught up with those 3-4 guys that were after us. We killed a lot of planes there around the, I'd say, a 3 to 5 kilometer zone around their spawn. I was there. You have to be there in this plane. Anywhere else you get killed, you get slaughtered. Trust me. This plane doesn't have the performance to compete. A Hurricane, for example, is just as slow as this plane, but it's much more maneuverable. There's no way I'm gonna get out of his firing arc, let's say. 11 kills though in that match, quite nice. Let's look at the scoreboard in RB and see what we got. Nothing special there. 3 kills. And we've got 56,000 Silver Lions and a good amount of research points. Hey guys, so here we are after the match. This is a very difficult plane to fly at the moment. The flight model is not good. It is not competitive at 2.7 battle rating. It is difficult to fly. It is very unforgiving. And it is one of the more difficult fighters to fly in War Thunder right now, in my opinion, because it has very little to speak for itself. It is not fast. It is not maneuverable. It doesn't hold its energy well. It doesn't accelerate well. You know, there is really nothing to do in this plane. It doesn't turn well. It doesn't roll well. There is so much badness about this plane right now. There's overheating in the plane. You can't use weapon and climb. You overheat very quickly. And maybe that is different with mech, but only a few percentage of the player base use mech. And the rest of us just play normally, including myself. And this plane overheats like a maniac. So keep that in mind. Think really hard if you want to buy this plane. If you are from Romania itself, maybe I would buy it for the, you know, because it's from your country. Or if you're a collector, you want this plane, maybe the flight model one day will get changed. The guns are nice at this battle rating, but that's one of the only things that is speaking for this plane. For the rest, it's hard work in this plane, and yeah. I cannot recommend buying this plane right now for most people, because it is just not a good plane. It's not competitive. But if you're a collector, then like me, then go for it. It's 1,000 golden eagles, but it's not worthy of the price. And yeah, if I was not a collector and a maniac as I am, I would not get this plane if I was you. I would wait and see if they one day maybe tweak the flight model a little bit. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button, become part of this community. If you are already a subscriber, don't forget to like the video, do leave me a comment, and if you really feel like helping out today, make sure to share the video with your friends and let them know about the channel.